I have played Souls-likes for quite some time. I played Dark Souls 1, 2 and 3, as well as some Elden Ring, and I gotta say, I enjoyed it. For the most part. Today I wanna go back to Dark Souls 1, the remastered version that is, and play it in a way I have never done before. Usually when I play Souls games, I go with a big hammer-go-bonk build and call it a day. I did open up to builds that require decks, for example the katanas, but I've never ever seriously tried to play with daggers, and only daggers. My reason for that is pretty simple. They barely have any range, and the damage output is not that great if you don't combine it with anything. Regardless of that, I thought through all the ideas I could do as if for like a challenge run, and the dagger only challenge stuck with me. So I think it's a good way to start a challenge run, and yeah. So here it goes. Dark Souls 1 with only daggers. So here's my plan, or at least the plan I went with into the game. We start as a bandit, because it starts with a bandit's knife. I will show you the order of weapons we will acquire and when we acquire them until we beat the game. Yeah, I know, it's very complicated, it's a lot to take in. Now, it is slightly deceiving because I do actually plan on getting another dagger, the parrying knife. I thought it would be nice to try and use the parrying knife due to its increased frames for a successful parry. You see, I never really liked doing parries, I nearly always messed them up and got disencouraged over time. But for this run I wanna give them a second shot, so that's why I want the parrying knife. Other than that, I didn't really think that far into the game. I only had 1-2 things at the back of my head, but didn't think about them at all. So that's it for the plan for now. I will mention every time as the plan changed, because it did change a lot throughout the run. So the Undead Asylum was not really a big deal. I got my weapon that I will be using for the entire run, and acquired the Sunny D. I did realize one thing though. While locked onto an enemy, your rolls become very weird. You can only roll in 4 directions, and that screwed with me a lot. I'm very used to the omnidirectional rolling from all the other games, so this is something I had to get used to again. So, the Asylum Demon itself was a nice refresher to get back into the habit of how the game works. The plunging attack was sweet, very sweet. 40% of its health per gun just like that, that was really nice. Daggers have an amazing crit multiplier, so I honestly wasn't surprised to see it go rather high. Another thing that was nice to see was the bleed. The bandit's knife comes with a bleed instead. The Asylum Demon is rather weak to bleed, so the fight was over as fast as it began, really. Nothing more to say. We made our way to Lordran due to getting kidnapped by a big friendly raven, and made our way to Firelink Shrine. And here's where I started to ruin my original idea. I spent souls on leveling up vitality to increase my health. Now that is really not a bad idea in all honesty, but in the back of my head I knew that I eventually wanna acquire the Red Tearstone Ring and Power Within. So me upgrading health makes that entire setup of using the Red Tearstone Ring and Power Within a little bit more difficult, or a lot more difficult, as you can see later. I'm not used to doing challenge runs since this is my first run, and going for a strategy like hyper mode, which you probably have heard before, might have been too much for me anyway, so in hindsight it might have been better to do it in this more relaxed fashion anyway. I started to die due to me having general issues with the controls. Dark Souls 1 really did feel quite a lot more clunky to me than I remembered, in all honesty. I eventually arrived in Undead Burg, and here we see what the dagger is really good at. Backstabbing. The damage is pretty insane, but even without backstabs, the bleed helps out a bunch. I went down to our friendly shopkeeper friend and got the residence key, because as far as I remember, the master key doesn't open the doors that require the residence key. I might be wrong about this, please correct me if I'm wrong about this, I really don't know. Most of my way through Undead Burg was rather uneventful, in all honesty, but there were some things that I actually didn't think I've ever seen before. Apparently some enemies can behave in some, let's call it interesting ways sometimes. I can only roll in like 4 directions. What the fuck? Did you see that? He closed the door. I mean, make it easy on me, I guess. He just closed the door on his other friend. He was like, nothing, this is my kill. Get out of here. I acquired the gold pine resin because I was sure I would need it. Eventually I got tired of these enemies and wanted to run past, but that went kinda wrong. At least I survived for longer than I thought I would. I did remember the Black Knight, and while I did defeat him, it really wasn't pretty. I went into the Taurus demon fight, took care of the two guys just chilling on top, and then triggered the fight. Again, the plunge attack did wonders, but the gold pine resin was another big carry. That's really about it. Moving on. I stopped upgrading Vitality at 15 and then went for Dex because I was worried about my damage. I went through the area more and there wasn't really much to mention here either, other than the boss hitboxes for backstab are interesting to say the least. I visited Andre and realized that I couldn't upgrade yet. I also totally forgot that you could buy Titanite shards for souls. Right after my visit I had a crazy idea to see if I could take on a demon just chilling here, and I went for it. But, well... Oh! So yeah, 8 damage wasn't really that fun to deal with. I had to learn that backstabbing won't always be an easy way out. At least I can still rely on my bleed, right? I upgraded my knife to +1 from the Titanite shard that the big enemy gave me, but then I realized something. I'm so scared of the gargoyles. I had some amazing fun getting to the gargoyles. That sorcerer really made my life hard. Eventually I did manage to free another friend that will definitely not do anything bad ever. I fully trust him. This will definitely not come back to bite me. So, the gargoyles. I will give you the short answer on how this went. I died. A lot. My damage was terrible. At the time I attempted this, I didn't realize I could just buy Titanite shards from Andre to get my weapon to +5. And to humor you even more, I also was too scared to waste my gold pine resin because I was afraid I would just die with it and lose it. So I stubbornly attempted to fight them with a +1 dagger and not using the gold pine resin, and I got wrecked. The first trace wasn't the problem, but once the second gargoyle came in I was screwed. This actually went on for about 40 minutes. Eventually though I just said screw it and I was ready to try with the gold pine resin. I was ready to lose it. My idea was to get him close to the trigger for the second gargoyle, then pine resin up and see how much the damage improves. I thought it would go up by like 20 damage at best, but damn. I really underestimated the damage I would do with the pine gold resin on, in all honesty. So yeah, easy fight, nothing to say. I was just stubborn. After ringing the first bell, I went to the Darkwood Garden and realized the damage there, it wasn't fun. I did manage to grab an armor set I was thinking about using later on, and then went into the Moonlight Butterfly fight. I never had trouble with it, so it's gonna be an easy... Oh god, no. That's not real, is it? Yeah, it was real. So yeah, this wasn't happening like that at all. So this is when I started to develop some sort of plan, but before I went for that, I upgraded my Estus Flask runs. And I also wondered where my friend in that golden armor went. I was expecting to see him here, but he wasn't there. I used the master key to get access to the valley and get a weird dragon right after and died to funny hitboxes. Regardless of that, you probably know what I wanna do. I wanna grab the red tearstone ring. My idea was to buff my damage with it and then just weave and dodge all of the Moonlight Butterflies attacks. But before we got to that, I got my friend to spawn in and showed him the way out. I heard he doesn't like my Firekeeper, so my trust has been revoked. Weirdly enough, something happened to the Fab Ring. It just spawned down there. I was really confused on why that happened, but after a few minutes of panicking, I restarted the game and then got the Fab Ring. And basically every playthrough ever in Dark Souls 1, I use this thing, and it's fair because it's way too good not to be used. It did, however, increase my health by a lot, so that hyper mode strategy I was considering for the endgame was basically dead at this point. So, with that out of the way, I finally got the red tearstone ring as well. I beat up a different Black Knight in a very hilarious fashion, and got rewarded with the Black Knight halberd, one of, if not the best weapons in the game. I got pretty upset when that happened, because I really liked this weapon, but I couldn't use it because I was stuck with my dagger only run. Yay! I killed the Crystal Lizard, and besides getting the 2 Twinkling Titanite that you are guaranteed to get, I also got the 2 Titanite shards, the large ones, which was pretty huge for me. It would come in handy soon. I went to test out the Red Tearstone ring on some easy mobs and realized how great the effect of the ring actually is. I've never used it before, so that was really nice to see. Now the problem with that was just actually staying alive. I did some cleaning up in Underberg, like taking care of the Black Knight, the other one that you can find, as well as grinding some souls in style with the help of the dragon. And eventually I had enough souls to upgrade my weapon all the way to +5. I did finally realize that you can upgrade your weapon from buying materials from Andre. And I wanted to modify it all the way to +7 using the large Titanite shards, but I completely forgot that you need the large ember for that, so I was just sticking with the +5. Right after that, I decided to test my damage on the big demon fella just outside, and 19 damage compared to just 8 was quite a bit better. So I ended up using this demon for Red Tearstone ring practice, just getting into range and see how much damage I do, getting better at dodging. It was pretty hard to pull off, but eventually I had a good attempt and I got him down, and yeah, I felt like that was good practice, or at least I hoped that was good practice. So I went into the Moonlight Butterfly fight, fully confident that I would shred it now, but I really didn't. I struggled a lot. I had trouble getting into the Red Tearstone range, and even if I did, I had even more trouble staying alive right after. I died a lot. Without the Red Tearstone effect, my damage was still garbage. I could probably have played it safe and just played the endurance game with it, but I really didn't wanna. I tried over and over and over again, trying to get into Red Tearstone range and staying alive to see the damage I dealt. I tried dual wielding as well, that made a difference, but not the biggest one. Eventually I got the effect to work, and I finally saw how good the damage was, and to be fair, it was good, but not good enough. Not for what I was trying to do. I eventually also got really angry, and that's something I don't really want to show. It got really bad and I started to feel really uncomfortable. Just listening to it myself in the editing process made me feel really uncomfortable. It was really bad, so I retreated eventually. After a lot of pain, I finally decided to go away from that and change up my plan. The idea was to grab the large ember and upgrade my knife to +7, since I had the 2 large Titanite shards lying around. The problem here is that I had to get through another boss fight, the Kappa demon. Now, the Kappa demon itself is not that big of a deal, but the arena and the dogs are. I really dislike it. I made my way down and hid behind the fire from some savage doggies. Then realized that bandit snipes are actually farmable. You can get them dropped. I didn't know that. In an attempt to get the shortcut to Firelink Shrine, I saw that you can buy charcoal pine resin. I started to consider using this for the Moonlight Butterfly fight. I'm fairly sure that at this point I just forgot that I had the gold pine resin. I still had 1 left, which probably would have done more damage. I don't know. Again. So, the Kappa demon. I went in, got scared by the dogs, but managed to get rid of them before I died. And then it was just a matter of staying alive, not getting greedy, and yeah, that's about it. He does bleed, so I was totally fine with my damage, and I won on my first attempt. While I was at it, I decided to give Hevel a visit, so I can get his ring. It would come in handy for a equip load later, so I don't have to upgrade endurance too much. This would probably mean that I get rid of the Red Tearstone ring for good. I was struggling with the Red Tearstone ring strategy so much already that I was fine with that. I would not get rid of the Fab ring, that's something I didn't wanna do, so I grabbed Hevel's ring just in case I don't wanna use the Red Tearstone ring anymore. So, we're back at Moonlight Butterfly. Realized something? Yeah, I did not grab the large ember yet. I forgot about it. I tried out the charcoal pine resin, and while the effect was definitely noticeable, it was not enough for me. I died and I gave up immediately. I didn't want to get back into that bad mood. I finally decided to enter the depths, or at least the beginning of it, and grab me a large ember. And while I did have some difficulty getting it, I eventually managed. On a side note, at this point I was using the dagger for a few hours already, and there was something I realized. I did not know that was a thing. You apparently can parry without using a parrying knife, or anything really. You can just parry with your bare fist. I really didn't know that. I upgraded my knife to +7 and finally was feeling ready to take down that damn butterfly if I could. For some more insight, I was struggling with it for over 90 minutes at this point, which is just crazy. I mean, it's the Moonlight Butterfly we're talking about. So here we are again. Charcoal Pine resin in hand, ready to use it at any time. I also re-equipped my red tearstone ring, and honestly, damn, it felt so satisfying. I'm just gonna let the footage play it out. I'm just gonna take that. And now if it shoots me twice, I should be red tearstone. No, not that, not that. Okay, I am actually. Right, come down, please. Yes. Oh my god, this is revenge for everything. This is revenge for everything. Oh, perfect ending, honestly. I got the red tearstone ring, the pine, everything. I got everything. One cycle, bitch. From here on out, we will not see the red tearstone ring return. I was done with it for good. In fact, we did change the plan. I wanted to upgrade my knife as much as possible, as well as acquire the parrying knives that I talked about at the beginning of the video. So that's what I did. I went down into the New London ruins and grabbed myself the parrying knife. It wasn't that hard to get. We will talk about the parrying knife a little bit later. For now, I just grabbed it and didn't really use it in there at all. Then I tried to go for the very large ember. It's somewhere in here in New London ruins. It requires you to drain the water, which is what I did. And I had some trouble getting there due to the dark wraiths, but I eventually managed. I also got a few titanite chunks from the dark wraiths, so that was nice. Then I went down to Blighttown and took care of Mildred because I was human, and that was easier than I thought. We started to farm large titanite shards on these slugs here because I can drop it. We did this so I could upgrade my knife to +10 and then eventually to +14 with the chunks we have collected so far. So yeah, at this point the plan was just max out the weapon as much as possible and do the rest of the game. I eventually, while farming, realized that I'm missing one titanite chunk, so I had to go into the Great Hollow to get this one. While there, I already upgraded my knife to +10 on the bonfire since I bought the weapon box. I did get my chunk without needing to go down a lot at all, and then made my way to Firelink Shrine. I was thinking about how to get the Titanite slab, and the Stray Demon seemed like the best option. I might have died to the Fire Hollows, we don't talk about that. The Stray Demon itself was pretty easy. The health pool was definitely a lot larger than I liked, but he bleed just as easily as the Asylum Demon, so it was easy. I did have a little trouble dodging the explosions though. First try victory. I danced a lot with the Black Knight in order to acquire the doll for the Painted World, but when I got the Black Knight, he dropped his sword and I got pretty upset again. I really like the Black Knight weapons, but I can't use them. And by the way, at this point I wanted to try out the parrying knife a lot, but I just couldn't get it to work. It felt so weird. I tried a few times to parry something with it, but I've literally never, not a single time, got a successful parry off with it. So I ended up just not using it at all. It went back to my inventory forever. Kind of a shame. It was part of my plan. I guess not. It was time to upgrade my dagger to +15, and honestly, I felt pretty good about myself now. With a +15 dagger in hand, I felt pretty good. My next goal was just hunting down the boss I skipped earlier, the Gaping Dragon. But before I got there, I wanted to save the Pyromancer dude, since he would come in handy pretty soon. The Gaping Dragon was easy as well. With a +15 dagger, the damage wasn't even that bad. It does bleed, and yeah, I just had to be a little patient, not get greedy, and not get hit by any of its bad attacks. There was a sorcerer on top of the arena that not only buffed the Gaping Dragon itself, he also attacked me with his magic. That was kinda annoying, but not too bad. First try victory. And here was my final addition to our build, Power Within. I was planning to just use Power Within without the Red Tearstone Ring. The damage buff was nice enough as it is. Testing Power Within gave some pretty solid results, so I was pretty happy with my decision to grab it. We went into the catacombs to grab the kindling thingy from Pinwheel, since having more Estus seemed like a good idea, especially with power within now. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say for Pinwheel, let's be honest, let's just move on. On my way back to Blighttown, this happened. Now, you would assume that someone like Krelak would just be melted. And in my head I was assuming the same thing, but that really didn't happen. I still struggled with her, mostly due to me not remembering how her fight goes. Her magma attacks and that explosion that can happen caught me a few too many times. But I persevered and beat her. I rang the second bell and afterwards made sure that people will have a reason to hate on me since I might have attacked one of their waifus. I just really wanted the Firekeeper soul. I made my way through Sen's fortress and took out that one giant at the top. With that I went into the Iron Golem fight and I had problems with this one as well. I got grabbed a lot and most of the time just thrown off. I really wanted to try and do the fight the cool way where you stagger him and you make him fall over the edge and basically he falls off the arena instead, but I just couldn't pull it off and eventually I opted to just fight him like I always did, the normal way, and I beat him after that. I made my way into Enorlondo and then I got surprised by a treasure chest mimic that I completely forgot about that one. That was kinda funny and also scary. Obviously the catwalk was easy as always, no problems at all, definitely didn't die 2 or 3 times, no. I outsmarted the guard just by walking back a little. I know it's a very commonly known trick, but it's so fun for me, it's so funny. And now you can see me actually attempting to do parries to get through the area. Up until now I never really tried for real, but here I did. It was a lot of fun in all honesty and some really great practice.
Also, I realized you can see the mimic breathe. I thought that was really cool.
I also took care of that demon in that building. I got really angry at it though because the hitboxes are so scuffy. Sometimes it's for my advantage, but sometimes it just... whatever. Let's move on. Ornstein and Smo had me on the rope. I really struggled with this. Maybe it's just me, but having to focus on multiple bosses is just so difficult for me. I just can't do it for the most time. Maybe I made my life harder on me by trying to get Ornstein down first, but I think that Super Smo is a lot easier than Super Ornstein, or at least he should be. After 20 to 30 minutes I got a pretty good attempt and got through it. So here at this point I wasn't quite sure what to do. I want to fight every boss and that does include Gwyndolin, but I wasn't able to attack Guinevere with my dagger at all. I was thinking of using a throwing knife, but then it clicked with me. There is a second way to fight her. It requires getting a ring, and after looking up where it is, we went back into the catacombs and grabbed us the Dark Moon ring. Gwyndolin was a pretty easy fight. I just really underestimated her, since she never put up a challenge before, so she did get me once, but it wasn't too bad. The Firekeeper in Enorlondo was now hostile with me, so I didn't have to feel bad about taking her Firekeeper soul, but the way I did take her Firekeeper soul was hilarious. I did not expect that. And just for my own sake, I did check on Guinevere to see if she's fine, because I didn't know if she would be fine after Gwyndolin's death. But yes, she was. Good for her. I went into the painted world and in all honesty there wasn't much going on there. There was this one weird dragon fight that I exploited pretty hard by just standing on the side there. And obviously the bone wheel enemies are annoying, like really annoying. But I persevered and made it through. Priscilla would have had another dagger fast, that is if I got her tail. That dagger could have been cool, but in reality I would have never switched anyway, so I didn't care. I never managed to get her tail because I never actually saw her. She went invisible the moment the fight started and she stayed that way until she died. That doesn't mean it was difficult, it was alright. It was a first try victory. On my way to the archives, I got annoyed by the boss that guard the way there. I did no damage to them and I couldn't rest at the bonfire. Even after coming back a little later, I still couldn't rest because that enemy was too close by. That was really annoying. Now, here's actually a look on how much my parrying improved. Believe it or not, that was the first attempt. I was so proud of myself there. Cease wasn't really fond of me being here, so he took care of me in a very rude way and he ended up throwing me into prison. I wanna mention that I could have done 3 skip. I know it exists, but it's not necessary. We can get out of prison with a dagger. Escaping the prison wasn't the problem, and just like that I made my way all the way into the crystal caves, which turned out to be more scary than I wanted them to be. I had some problems remembering the way, and the golden golems hunted me for quite some time, but I got through. Now let's be real here. Seath was a first try victory. There wasn't much of a problem. There's nothing I want to talk about other than maybe that I nearly got cursed. I have something else though that I wanna mention. I had a lot of trouble cutting off Caesar's tail. I didn't need it for anything, but I've never managed before, and I was really upset that I didn't manage it again. I'm gonna guess that 80% of my damage I dealt to Caesar was on that tail, yet it never came off, and I really don't know what I did wrong there. But I guess I don't care. I got him first try. So at this point you might have noticed that my progression through the game has sped up considerably. It almost felt like speedrunning compared to the early game, but I did struggle to get through some of these areas. I just did not show it. One area I do wanna show a little bit of is the Tomb of the Giant Throw because of its darkness gimmick. I died a lot more than I would like to admit there. Just the mixture of the bone creatures, or whatever you wanna call them, and also the Black Knight that was there, made that area pretty hard to navigate even with the light source, especially when you just try to run through, because at this point I did not need anything, my build was finished. Nito was scary at first, mainly because I did not have a divine dagger, so the skellies would constantly get up again. Thankfully Nito had different ideas for the skellies as well, so he just took them out for me, and after relearning his attack patterns I did get through it first try actually. Ceaseless. Do I need to say more? On my way to the fire demon, I actually nearly broke my dagger, which was horrifying. That weird slug apparently has something that can take down the durability of your weapons or armor as well really quickly. Now, you would probably expect another first try victory, but I am full of surprises, and here's where that ends. Just like with the Stray Demon, I had a lot of trouble with all of these explosive attacks, and they actually got me runs. Other than that, it's just a Stray Demon fight, but on fire. It's just a reskin. Moving on. Second try victory. Centipede Demon was fine. I gotta say I don't remember having it fought legit before, so his weird thingies coming off and turning into these slug creatures that attack you, that caught me a little bit off guard, but apart from that it wasn't very scary. His jumping attack was annoying, I suppose. I wanna mention that on my very first playthrough on Dark Souls Run, I did not get to fight Centipede Demon properly due to something happening, and I will actually showcase this in the video. I'm sorry for the looks of that. It was on a low bitrate on my old PC.
Solaire! Don't get eaten, Solaire! What are you doing? What are you doing? Solaire! What did you do? What did you do? Don't just look at me! What happened to the boss?
It's dead?
Solaire!
So yeah, this time around I took care of it the normal way. I did not have any Solaire glitching it out for me or anything like that. I killed it how you intended to kill it, and it was a first try victory. Lost Idlers usually never gives me any problems. I just sprint through and go to the bed of chaos. This time around that didn't really work out. I died like 5 times, I think. That was awful. After changing up my drip because I felt like using a different armor set, I finally made it through and I started going for the demon on that bridge. It was interesting to fight that one. Like I mentioned before, I hate the hitboxes. This one actually killed me quite a few times. But eventually I got rid of it and I was really happy until I realized it respawns. And it makes sense. You can farm Demon Titanite there, but I wasn't happy about that. The bed of chaos was awful. I don't know what they saw while designing this boss. It's almost like they either didn't playtest it or they were just like, Lamau, this is a Souls game. Let's make some Souls game bullshit difficulty. It's almost guaranteed we're like a Souls game. Which I guess is true in some way. I mean, look at Dark Souls 2. But let's not get too excited about that. I went all the way back to where the Hydra was. The Hydra was really awful, mainly due to the fact that I couldn't reach that one head for the life of me. I actually ran out all the way so I could fall off the map. That was annoying. Eventually I found some sort of wacky strategy that allowed me to attack that Hydra head. That was funny. Sif was pretty sad. I don't really like attacking a cute little doggy. She didn't really put up much of a fight, sadly, because I was already equipped for the end game, and Sif is more like an early game boss, so yeah, in the first try victory, yay! At this point I want to mention something because I don't see anyone ever really talk about it. I did end up upgrading my armor before I went into the Four Kings fight. I don't know if other challenge runners do that or not. I have no idea if that's allowed. I allowed myself to do this. If you think this is cheesy and should not be something I am allowed to do, then let me know. I think it's okay because it's part of the game, but you let me know what you think. Now, Four Kings is kind of a DPS race, a race that we were actually able to keep up with. It's kinda impressive how well the dagger has held up in the base game. I died once though, other than that, since I barely took any damage, it wasn't much of a challenge. And that's it for the base game. We could go fight Gwyn right now, but I wanna do the DLC first. For time's sake, I will not show you how I got into the DLC. Most of you probably already know, so let's just jump straight to the Sanctuary Guardian. Fighting the Sanctuary Guardian was very different. Most Dark Souls 1 bosses have been pretty slow and sluggish, but he really wasn't, and I had to adjust a lot. I died once, but I persevered through it, and yeah, second try victory. I haven't really been talking about my stats all that much in the video, and I do apologize, I just really forgot. Here's a look on them. 40 dex, 30 vitality, and the rest just into endurance. On my way to Artorias nothing really happened, except for, I guess, that. That was kinda funny. I also ended up not finding the shortcut for the Artorias boss fight. I'm nearly 100% sure there is one. I just couldn't find it for the life of me. Which would have annoyed me a lot if I died to Artorias, and I mean, come on, you saw me play before already. I died to the gargoyles. There's a very high likelihood I will not do Artorias first try. But nah, I did. I actually really love the Artorias boss fight, without joking. It's one of my favorite Souls boss fights in general. I love his pattern, I love his attacks. He is very balanced in my opinion. It doesn't really matter what kind of weapon I use, I feel like, for him. I can fight him pretty steadily. I don't get greedy, I take my time, I don't feel any need to rush. It worked. It took long, yes, but it worked. First try victory. Now, I don't really have any idea what I'm doing in the DLC, so I didn't know that I needed a key to get to my giant friend. So I explored that weird village first. I found the key eventually, it was hidden in a mimic. And then I went back up. I talked with him. He sniped the weird dragon down and told me to finish it up. Now, Calamite is not a joke. He was actually pretty tough. It took me 3 attempts to beat him. I know, wow, 3, wow. No, it took 3 attempts, and I think I got pretty lucky on the 3rd attempt because he just kept spamming the same move. I got very lucky with that, but apart from that, the fight wasn't too bad. I think even without that luck I would have gotten through with a few more attempts. So yeah, not too bad. Definitely a step up in difficulty, but not too bad. Now, I'm just gonna skip all the talk about getting to Manus because I just went through. I might have struggled with finding the shortcut, but that's besides the point at this point. So, Manus. I was really scared of him, in all honesty. I don't like Manus. I never liked Manus. He is so big, but for how big he is, he can get really, really fast. And some of his magic attacks are pretty weird and, in my opinion, also kind of unfair. I got lucky in most of these attempts I had, though, because he barely used them, in all honesty. Oh, by the way, I should probably mention it took me only 4 attempts to beat Manus, which for me was amazing. 4 attempts only, that I felt great about that. My main problem with Manus was his moveset. He felt either way too slow or way too fast. I never found some balance in his attacks. You could say I don't have a lot of practice with him, and that is honestly true. I just feel like I lucked through these fights. Maybe my big health pool and the fact that I had 15 Estus flasks helped quite a bit with this, but it's Manus. I'm glad it's done with. Let's move on. I want you guys to take in what happened here and perhaps tell me the odds of this, because I'm honestly getting sick of this joke. Are you the spear? No, you are an X guy. Can I parry the X guy? Oh yeah, I can. Holy shit. I never saw... It was so good, honestly. Never fought an X guy before. That was... Okay, game! No! I have all of them now! That's like my... That's actually like fits my character so much. Oh, jump attack! Holy shit! Come on. Whack, whack, whack! No! Die! Okay. What? What are the odds? What are the odds? I'm using a stupid knife, and now if I wanted to, I could fucking dual wield the fucking helper. I don't care. Let me dual wield the helper for a second. Huh? Huh? What the fuck do you mean, game? So yeah, all jokes aside, that was crazy. 2 Black Knights in a row dropped their weapon, and I promise you, I did not grind this out. It was back to back. It's insane, in all honesty. But, as you also saw, I'm getting pretty good at doing the parries now. I actually like doing the parries a lot at this point. So let's go into Grin and see if I can beat him in style. So yeah, this looks about right. I actually got a parry off, as you can see here, and the damage was very high, so I had high hopes, but yeah, this attempt was not happening. I was, as you can see there, struggling a lot. Luckily for me, it actually only took a second attempt to get this fight done. It was very sloppy. I messed up quite a lot of my parries, but I did get through thanks again to my massive health pool. I did beat him on the second attempt, and with that, I cleared the challenge. I beat Dark Souls Run with only using Daggers. I was really happy. Now, how hard do I think the challenge actually was? In all honesty, it was easier than I thought. I did expect to struggle more, since Daggers are not even close to my favorite weapon class. But it worked, it really worked. Maybe it's just Dark Souls Run. Maybe in another Souls game it wouldn't be as easy, and I do expect it to not be as easy. But hey, I'm really happy, we got through it. did any of you expect that Moonlight Butterfly would be my breaking point and would have nearly made me quit the challenge? I did not expect that. I really did not expect that. Like, after Moonlight Butterfly, everything went so much better. And especially after Ornstein and Smo, there was no real roadblock anymore. So let's say the early game was tough and the mid and end game was better. But you could also say I just got used to the weapon type at that point. So that would be fair for me as well. But yeah, that's the challenge. Hello, it's me, Lilly. I wanna say some more things before I end off the video. First of all, I want to thank you a lot for watching up to this point. It means more than you think to me that you stuck through and watched 40 minutes of my content. If you ever feel like it, I don't like self-promoting myself, but if you ever feel like it, you could come and like down there, oh, my fingy. The hand tracking is scuffy. If you ever wanted to see any of what I do live, which is not only Dark Souls challenges, but as the time this goes live, I actually am doing the Dark Souls 2 Dagger run, and I'm not saying anything. But yeah, if you wanna see that live, you can join me on Twitch whenever I'm live. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope I see you in the next run or on Twitch. And goodbye. Take care of yourself.